Let's go ahead and get straight into some of these Big 12 rankings that we got here. When it comes to the Big 12, man, it's been a wild week, and it's going to set up to be an even wilder rest of the season. I do have the Texas Tech Red Raiders atop my power rankings this week. I think given what they did to Utah over the weekend, especially considering that they lost Baron Morton for a portion of that game and their backup had to come in and was very serviceable. I think the Red Raiders are the clear number one team in this conference as it stands right now. I do feel a little bit bad for the Cyclone fan base because Iowa State was at the top here. But the fact they didn't play last week means they do indeed have to drop to that number 2 spot. I do think Iowa State, though, with Rocco Becht and what Campbell is doing over there, they are a really solid team, and they are certainly going to be in contention for that 1 spot as the season moves along. Now, this is where I imagine some fans from other teams are going to get a little irritated. I'm just going to let you know right now, I don't give a flying crap. The Arizona State Sun Devils are the number 3 team in this conference. Say what you want about Baylor on a national perspective. They're a hell of a team, and Arizona State walked into their house, took their lunch money, got back on the plane, and flew back to Tempe with it. Arizona State is certainly trending in the right direction. Excited to see what they look like this week against the number 4 team in my power rankings, the TCU Horned Frogs. Watch out for Josh Hoover now. Josh Hoover slowly and silently becoming one of the best quarterbacks, not just in this conference, but in the nation. Hoover throwing 5 touchdowns this past weekend. A really, really special talent at quarterback. Not to mention they have a wide receiver in Eric McAllister, who is just behind Jordan Tyson in terms of receiving yards, coming off just a ridiculous game this past weekend. Moving to the number 5 team in my Big 12 power rankings this week, it still is the Utah Utes. I did have them a little bit higher over the last several weeks, but when you get beat at home the way that Utah did by Texas Tech, tough to make an argument. I get it. Texas Tech's a good team. They're a really competitive squad. You lose like that, you have to fall in the power rankings. Nonetheless, I still believe that Utah is a really, really good football team. I think they are going to have a really good season led by Kyle Whittingham and then, of course, Devin Dampier at quarterback.
We might have overrated Devin Dampier after the first couple of games?
Potentially, but I don't think it's just an us thing. I think it's an everybody thing.
Yeah,
I think
that was a royal we.
Yeah, it's a royal. We royally all did that. Yeah. Moving on to the number 6 team in my Big 12 power rankings. That is the Baylor Bears. I understand they lost. They were higher in my rankings last week, but you lose at home, regardless of it being a game-winning field goal. You do have to drop. The defense for Baylor, I thought, played better than I thought they were going to, in all honesty, and I think Arizona State's defense did a better job against Sawyer Robertson and that Baylor offense. I do believe that Baylor is still going to be in the thick of the Big 12 championship conversation as the season moves along, kind of a cakewalk schedule from Baylor here on out. The number 7 team who happen to find themselves in the AP Top 25, that is BYU. Sitting pretty at number 7. I know the BYU fans are going to be really, really unhappy with me. They always are unhappy with me, but probably especially this week, considering that I don't even have them in the top 6 in the conference. And I'll tell you why I don't have BYU in the top 6. And this isn't really any fault of their own, but they've played Portland State, Stanford, and East Carolina. They have played the epitome of nobody in college football. I can't put you in the top 5 if you haven't played anybody that is worth anything. Stanford's 1-3 on the year, and that's the only Power 4 program that they've played up until this point. Now, of course, BYU, not that they care, will have a chance to get into my good graces this weekend when they take on Colorado at Folsom Field. Say what you want about the Buffs. I think that will be a really, really solid game. We'll see what BYU is made of there. The number 18 that I have in my Big 12 power rankings is the Kansas Jayhawks. Kind of on the same note that everybody was maybe a slightly too high on Utah. I think everybody was slightly too low on Kansas. I get West Virginia is a whole lot of nothing all the time, but the Kansas Jayhawks, man, they're putting together really decisive victories. I get it. They haven't necessarily played anybody either, but Jalen Daniels has been really impressive. LaShawn Williams at running back for Kansas has been an absolute dog. One of the guys that maybe isn't getting enough love in the conversation of best Big 12 running back this season. Watch out for the Kansas Jayhawks, especially considering they were a team that got hot at the back end of last season. They appear to be red hot as it stands right now. Now, because Kansas jumps, a team that didn't play last week, the Arizona Wildcats, they fall to the number 9 spot in my power rankings this week. I get it. People may not enjoy what I have to say about the Arizona Wildcats, but it is what it is. A team, as it stands right now, that is playing much better defense, I would argue, than offense. Special teams looks kind of sloppy, but again, maybe they cleaned it up over this early bye week, and they better have, because they have one hell of a test coming their way this week. The Iowa State Cyclones, fresh off a bye, one of the best teams in this conference. That is going to be your show me game. If the Arizona Wildcats are for real, show me against the Iowa State Cyclones. Number 10 on my power rankings, another team falling because they didn't play. That is Connor Weigman, Willie Fritz, and the Houston Cougars, a team that I think is definitely improved from a year ago. We'll see how improved they are. They do fall to number 10 on my list. Now, Colorado at 11, UCF at 12, the Cincinnati Bearcats and West Virginia Mountaineers falling 13 and 14, and then the two worst teams in this conference. They stay put. Oklahoma State and Kansas State 15 and 16 respectively. Shane, did I miss anything here? Because Tony, I know a Wildcat fan, says that I have potentially been day drinking.
No. I mean, no. Like, Arizona was 8 on yours last week, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Kansas looked really good. Like, it's a week-by-week thing. So, I don't know. I mean,
Am I alone in my thoughts that BYU is getting some maybe unjustified love?
Yeah, because nothing's happened yet. The only thing that I might have a problem with is Cincinnati.
Okay, you think they're better?
I think they're better than UCF and Colorado, yeah.
See, so I was thinking about UCF because Cincinnati dropped. I had them above, I think, both those teams. But again, Cincinnati didn't play this week, and UCF got a big win against Bill Belichick in UNC. I feel like Cincinnati hasn't really played anybody either. It's tough because we're still so early on in the season that like there's the occasional team that has played like a decent non-con schedule or a decent non-con opponent, right? Like Baylor, obviously seeing SMU and Auburn. So you put a little bit more stock into maybe even those losses than you would like what UCF and Cincinnati have done in non-con in terms of wins. I get it. Like John right there, putting 2 and 2 Baylor over BYU is absolutely wild. I hear you because BYU currently hasn't lost. But if you look and watch those games that Baylor played, they're a field goal away, obviously, from the Arizona State game going differently. And then the Auburn game, like the tough like start to the season against an SEC opponent, I would take an SEC loss over, again, like I'm putting more stock into that than I am BYU beating the school of the deaf and blind. Like it's just, you have to.
Yeah. Plus, like the biggest thing for BYU is, and these power rankings, is their power rankings are not standings. Like it's not.
It's not standings.
Yeah, like it's all eye test. I don't know. And asking why Utah is at 5 is a little crazy to me. Like
they were just the number 17 or 16 team in the country.
Yeah.
I think they were 16.
I mean, we may have overrated that offense a little bit, but that defense was still really good until the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
Like I mean, that Texas Tech Red Raider offense is supposed to be one of the best in the country at scoring points. It was last year. There was like no points scored in the first half. So I don't know. I mean, I think Utah's going to be just fine. Kyle Whittingham, I think, has gotten that train back on the tracks.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Well, guys, let me know in the comments what you think of my Big 12 power rankings.